Alright then, hi everyone. This is a bit of an unusual one, but just quickly we're going to have a look at some of the Conflix terrain. I believe it's produced overall by Pegasus, but I know it is Conflix terrain. It's a bit of an odd one because it's not really produced anymore as far as I know. It's not like a set that you can just buy from sites like Mats and Game Mat and that sort of thing. But it's kind of what I remember as the sort of the primary original source of this sort of pre-painted resin terrain. It's the kind of thing you pick up in individual boxes from railway model railway shops or hobby shops and that sort of thing. And it's what I remember from my earliest days when I would just be at a club somewhere at the YMCA or in the back of a shop or something, playing War Machine or maybe some Warhammer Fantasy, that sort of thing. I sort of consider these War Machine buildings, especially these sort of crookedy ones, but they were good for fantasy as well. And they're something that I sort of always wish that I bought more at the time, because they're pretty hard to find now. They're quite expensive. I don't think they're made anymore, so they're fairly expensive when you do find them. A lot of these days, a lot of people will charge you in the high 30s, £38, maybe £40 or so, just for a normal sort of building like this. Could be even more. I paid about 50 or 60 even, I think, for this one off of Amazon or eBay or something. I always wanted it though, so I had to. But they're quite classic, and I think that they did sort of come around, even before the sort of terrain sets that we see today. So because they're sort of classic and they're what a lot of people probably recognise from a while ago, before Gale Force 9 and all that sort of battlefield in a box terrain, I thought they were worth making a video on. So we're going to set them out and have a look at them on the table. Okay, so here is just a very quick look at the Conflix buildings, otherwise known, I think, as Pegasus. I think Pegasus is the brand that makes them, and the range is Conflix. I've just realised I forgot one, so let me just put it in. Here we go, that's better. Knew I was missing one. Now this range is something I'm just going to have a look at, even though it's not the kind of terrain set you can buy from websites like Game Mat and Urban Mats and that sort of thing. These are sold individually. As far as I know, they seem to be out of production because they are not numerous to find, and they're pretty expensive. You tend to find them on eBay, Amazon sometimes, and they're pretty expensive, unreasonably expensive given the situation. It seems to be that they're out of production and just kind of knocking around random hobby shops. Some of them don't know what they've got necessarily. They might be selling them at a reasonable price. Other hobby shops unfortunately do seem to know that there's not many of them around, but I felt like they were worth making a video for because they're quite classic, and they're definitely the sort of pre-painted resin terrain that I came to know before things like Game Mat came around to existing. These are things that I remember from my earlier wargaming days when I would have a club at the YMCA and that sort of thing. Now this set that we've got here is the Chaos Altar. We've got a mausoleum, kind of a big tomb. You can't quite get the detail, but if I take the lid off, you can get a bit more light. It's got these really nice pillar details. The inside is fully detailed. It's very nice. I think I got this one at a train station years ago. And that is the kind of places you would pick them up. Then you've got the, I believe this is either a tavern or the merchant's house. I think it's the rich merchant's house. You can see there, very nice detail. And that was the thing with these Conflix buildings. Very, very nice detail and very well painted. Even compared to, things like the Game Mat type buildings, the Urban Mats type buildings. These, honestly, as far as quality go, are better. They're just, unfortunately, quite difficult to find and quite expensive. Then over here we've got two ruined corners. They're two identical kits. You buy them individually as the same thing. But, it's nice to have two of them. You can put them as a ruined building. Then over here we've got a similar ruined building. This is a single piece. Just comes like that. It's pretty nice for a little ruined building. Over here, this was called the Wizard's House. Not exactly sure why it's called the Wizard's House, but that's what it is. It's got this nice crooked shape to it. It's very nice for War Machine type games. This is what I came to know these buildings for, really, during War Machine games. They're definitely quite fitting for the setting. Nice size. Then this is the watchtower. You can see I've got some cricks out around it. It's a nice building, nice symmetrical, nice solid resin. Again, like I said, really well sculpted, really well painted. I think buildings like this and this one, they do unfortunately tend to go in the high 30s to maybe even £40 or so these days due to the situation. I wouldn't recommend, you know, paying those kinds of prices, but if you do see them cheaper, more like sort of 19.99, 25.99, that sort of thing, maybe even up to 30, I'd go for them. Just pick them up. They're pretty nice pre-painted things. Then over here, got the Wizard's Tower. I always wanted this kit. I saw other people with this piece. Only managed to find it on eBay recently. I think I paid a good 50 or even maybe £60 for it, but I just wanted to own it because it's quite classic and everyone else seemed to have it and I never did. Got the War Mammoth for scale. It's a really nice tool piece of terrain. Nicely detailed, nicely painted. Yeah, we'll just get back to my conclusion now that you've seen them. They are pretty nice. It's just a shame about the situation, but as far as these go, I feel like these might even be older than, you know, any of these sort of game mat type terrain. They're really the first examples of pre-painted resin terrain that I've seen. Really nice. I hope they get a resurgence of production sometime maybe, because they definitely deserve it. They shouldn't be as expensive as they are on eBay currently. And there you go. So I've talked about them in that video a little bit. I did it last night, so I can't quite remember everything I said, but you know, the gist is they're really nice buildings if you can find them for not too expensive, you know, £20 or so each. I'd say, you know, go for it. It's a good price, but I wouldn't recommend that you let the sort of eBay swindlers, you know, make you pay £35, £40 or so for each building, because they're nice, but they're not worth that. As far as resin buildings go, they're really nice, really good quality. I'm always on the lookout, always hoping I might find more one day, maybe from somebody that isn't trying to scalp you, you know, that sort of thing. They're really good buildings though. I recommend them. You know, they're not, I don't think they're marketed as 28mm. I think they tend to get sold as maybe a bit smaller sometimes, and they definitely do look a bit smaller when you put models next to them. The doorways are a bit too short really, but I never minded that. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't break immersion that much or anything if the doorways were a bit too short. People were sort of different sizes, I guess, back then. So were the buildings, a bit, you know, pretty much built them to whoever was in the village. So if there's, you know, Chaos Warriors around, well, they weren't built for Chaos Warriors, were they? So yeah, I think if you see them around, get them. They're nice, they fit well on most tables. War Machine or Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, good for them. You know, maybe even Dungeons and Dragons if you're the kind of person that likes to set out a board and, you know, represent it visually, that sort of thing. It's good for that too, you know, if you've got some sitting around. Anyway, just a quick video for these because, you know, I felt they were worth a mention. I'm going to go through all my terrain pretty much, even stuff that isn't necessarily, you know, commercially available and that sort of thing, or maybe it's just something made by an eBay shop. You know, I'm going to go through everything, and so this is another step. So, you know, thank you for watching if you did, and I'll see you in the next terrain review.